We've all had moments where we said something and immediately wished we could take it back. Words are powerful. They can inspire, uplift, or even harm. But those who truly understand the weight of their speech know that what you choose not to say is just as important as what you do say. In this video, we'll uncover 6 phrases that highly intelligent people avoid at all costs, a concept deeply connected to the wisdom of Stoicism. This ancient philosophy teaches that your words are a reflection of your discipline, self-awareness, and emotional control. By eliminating careless speech, resisting the urge to boast, and knowing when silence speaks louder than words, you can elevate not only your conversations, but your entire presence. By the time you finish watching, you'll gain practical insights that will transform the way you communicate, whether in professional settings, personal relationships, or even the inner dialogue that shapes your thoughts. Because true intelligence isn't just about what you know. It's about knowing when to listen, when to speak, and when to stay silent. Number 1, avoid boasting about knowledge. Have you ever encountered someone who constantly talks about their knowledge and accomplishments? They eagerly share details about what they've learned, the experiences they've had, and even the books they've read. At first, this might seem impressive, but over time, it can become overwhelming. Not because their insights lack value, but because their way of presenting them makes others feel insignificant. Stoic philosophy teaches that genuine wisdom doesn't need to be broadcasted. Marcus Aurelius once reflected that nature quietly creates without seeking recognition, and we should approach our own knowledge in the same way. True understanding is not about proving intelligence to others, but about applying it meaningfully. Let me share a story. I once knew a man named David, a highly skilled professional in the tech industry. In every discussion or meeting, he felt the need to establish himself as the most knowledgeable person in the room. He would talk extensively about the innovative projects he had worked on, the complex technologies he had mastered, and the accolades he had received. Initially, people listened with interest, but over time, they felt that his conversations were more about self-promotion than meaningful exchange. One day, a colleague gave him some honest feedback. His expertise was undeniable, but the way he presented it was making people disconnect. That moment made David realize something important. In trying so hard to be respected, he was actually alienating those around him. This is a mistake many people unknowingly make. Before sharing our knowledge or achievements, we should pause and ask ourselves, what is my intention? If the goal is to contribute to a discussion or help others, that's valuable. But if it's to seek admiration, it may be worth reconsidering. Constantly showcasing one's intelligence doesn't elevate conversations. It can actually create an invisible divide. Instead of inspiring others, it may make them feel judged or inadequate. Stoicism offers a better approach. Let your actions demonstrate your knowledge rather than your words. Wisdom naturally reveals itself through problem solving and the way we interact with the world. Another essential lesson from Stoic thought is the power of humility. Being humble doesn't mean hiding your abilities. It means allowing others to recognize them on their own, rather than feeling forced to acknowledge them. Most importantly, learn to listen. Truly listening to others doesn't just expand your understanding. It fosters respect and strengthens connections. The Stoics valued silence, not as a sign of ignorance, but as a mark of confidence and wisdom. Over time, David took these principles to heart. He shifted from trying to dominate discussions to actively engaging with others' perspectives. Instead of making every conversation about his own experiences, he focused on meaningful contributions and deeper listening. As a result, people sought him out, not just for his knowledge, but for the genuine way he connected with them. Knowledge is most powerful when shared in a way that uplifts others. Choosing humility over self-importance doesn't mean silencing yourself. It means communicating in a way that fosters respect and understanding. In the end, the way we present our wisdom shapes how others perceive us. So, ask yourself, do your words build bridges, or do they create barriers? The answer to that question will define the impact you have on the people around you. 2. They never undermine their own worth. Have you ever caught yourself being your own worst critic? It's surprisingly easy to focus on flaws, shortcomings, or mistakes rather than recognizing the strengths that make you unique. Many people fall into the habit of self-doubt, constantly questioning their abilities or comparing themselves to others. But those who cultivate a strong and resilient mindset understand that the way they speak about themselves directly shapes their confidence and self-perception. Negative self-talk often begins subtly. Phrases like, "I'm just not good at this," or "others seem far more talented than me," may seem harmless, but when repeated over time, they reinforce self-doubt and limit growth. The words we choose to describe ourselves influence our mindset, dictating how we approach challenges, opportunities, and even personal development. Now, consider someone you deeply admire, whether it's a leader, a mentor, or a successful individual in your field. Do they often say, "I'll never figure this out," or "I'm just not capable"? Likely not. That's because confident and resilient individuals don't allow difficulties to define them. They acknowledge challenges, but refuse to let those challenges dictate their self-worth. Instead of seeing obstacles as proof of inadequacy, they view them as opportunities for learning and growth. People who develop a strong mindset approach difficulties differently. Instead of saying, "This is beyond my ability," they tell themselves, "I'm working on developing this skill," rather than thinking, "I'll always struggle with this." They shift their perspective to, "Every attempt I make brings me closer to improvement." This kind of language fuels motivation and perseverance rather than discouragement. The way you talk to yourself matters more than you think. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not capable," you create invisible barriers that limit your potential. But if you replace those thoughts with, "I'm growing and learning every day," you open yourself up to progress. The mind adapts to the narratives you feed it. So why not tell yourself a story that empowers you rather than holds you back? Self-doubt is a natural part of being human, but it doesn't have to control you. The next time those critical thoughts creep in, pause and challenge them. Instead of saying, "I'll never get better at this," try, "I'm figuring this out, one step at a time." When you catch yourself thinking, "I always mess things up," counter it with, "Mistakes are part of growth, and each one teaches me something valuable." It's important to recognize that one setback does not define your worth. No single failure determines your potential or capabilities. True strength comes from your ability to learn, adapt, and keep moving forward. Every challenge you face is a stepping stone toward becoming the best version of yourself. Growth isn't about being perfect. It's about progress. Every effort you make, no matter how small, moves you closer to your goals. Some of the most successful individuals in history faced countless failures before achieving greatness. What set them apart wasn't their lack of obstacles, but their refusal to let those obstacles define them. When you shift from a fixed mindset, where abilities are seen as unchangeable, to a growth mindset, where improvement is always possible, you unlock your true potential. You begin to see every challenge as a lesson, and every setback as an opportunity for growth. So, the next time you're tempted to undermine your own worth, remember, the way you speak to yourself matters. Choose words that uplift and encourage, rather than words that hold you back. Confidence isn't about never doubting yourself. It's about believing in your ability to keep going, even when things get tough. At the end of the day, you are a work in progress, and that's a good thing. Growth is a continuous journey, and each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory worth celebrating. 3. Never dismiss others' opinions. Have you ever felt unheard, as if your words carried no weight in a conversation? It's a frustrating experience, one that can make you second-guess whether your thoughts are even worth sharing. Unfortunately, I've not only felt this, but I've also been the person who unknowingly made others feel this way. When I first stepped into a leadership role, I prided myself on efficiency. I believed that cutting to the chase and filtering out bad ideas would save time. During a team meeting, one of my colleagues introduced a suggestion for improving our workflow. Without much thought, I brushed it aside, certain it wouldn't work. In my mind, I was streamlining the discussion. But what I failed to see was the shift in the room. People hesitated before speaking, their energy deflated, and the discussion became stagnant. Later, a coworker pulled me aside and said, "You might not have noticed, but when you dismissed that idea so quickly, it discouraged others from sharing." That comment stayed with me. I realized that I wasn't just rejecting one suggestion. I was sending the message that some voices didn't matter. This was a turning point for me. I began to reflect on why I had been so quick to shut others down. Was it really about efficiency, or was I just assuming I always had the best answer? That's when I came across a timeless lesson. Wisdom isn't about having all the answers. It's about being open to perspectives we might not have considered. A shift in mindset changed everything. Instead of judging an idea instantly, I started asking questions. Why does this person believe in this approach? What insight might I be missing? I reminded myself that listening doesn't mean agreeing. It simply means giving someone the space to be heard. The results were undeniable. Once I encouraged more discussion, my team became more engaged. Creativity flowed more freely, and we ended up implementing ideas that I never would have thought of on my own. If you find yourself dismissing opinions too quickly, consider this. Every perspective, no matter how different from your own, has something to offer. Even ideas that don't seem useful at first can spark valuable discussions or lead to unexpected solutions. More importantly, listening builds trust. People respect those who take the time to understand them, and that trust leads to stronger teams, deeper relationships, and better decision-making. In both personal and professional settings, dismissing someone's thoughts too quickly can have lasting effects. Over time, people who feel unheard may stop contributing altogether. On the other hand, when you genuinely listen, you create an environment where people feel valued and respected. This not only strengthens relationships, but also encourages a culture of innovation and growth. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history came from unexpected ideas or unconventional thinkers. If their voices had been dismissed, the world would have missed out on their innovations. By choosing to listen, we invite new perspectives into our lives, which can challenge our assumptions, broaden our understanding, and ultimately make us wiser. So, the next time you hear an opinion that differs from yours, pause before dismissing it. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? You might be surprised by the value that lies in perspectives you once overlooked. 4. The power of balanced perspective. In moments of frustration, it's easy to fall into the trap of extreme judgments. Phrases like, "You never listen," or "You always do this," may feel like an honest expression of our emotions, but they often do more harm than good. These absolute statements oversimplify human behavior and overlook the complexities of personal growth. When we say, "You always let me down," we ignore the times when someone has been dependable. When we declare, "You never care," we dismiss the moments of genuine concern they have shown. These broad generalizations don't just distort reality, they also close the door to meaningful conversations and damage relationships. Instead of leading to solutions, they put people on the defensive, making resolution even harder. People who communicate with emotional intelligence recognize the impact of their words. They avoid painting others with a single brushstroke, choosing instead to focus on specific behaviors rather than making sweeping judgments. For instance, instead of saying, "You never support me," a more constructive approach would be, "Lately, I've been feeling like I don't have your support. Can we talk about it?" This small shift in language transforms an accusation into an invitation for understanding. It acknowledges the possibility of change, rather than trapping the other person in a fixed, negative identity. By being more mindful in how we express our frustrations, we foster better communication and stronger connections. We create an environment where people feel heard and valued, rather than criticized and condemned. This approach doesn't just improve our relationships with others. It also teaches us to treat ourselves with the same patience and understanding. Before making a broad judgment about someone, pause and ask yourself, am I seeing the full picture? Am I allowing space for growth and change? The words we choose can either deepen our relationships or create unnecessary division. Choosing language that promotes understanding will always lead to a more positive outcome. 5. Real strength lies in lifting others up. In a world that often glorifies competition, many people believe they need to put others down to elevate themselves. They think that by pointing out someone else's flaws, they make their own strengths more visible. But in reality, true confidence and wisdom don't come from diminishing others. They come from lifting others up. People who belittle or criticize others harshly usually do so from a place of insecurity. When someone constantly puts others down, it often reveals their own fear of inadequacy. They may feel that their worth is tied to being better than those around them, rather than developing their own strengths independently. However, this mindset is flawed. Real self-assurance doesn't come from comparison. It comes from a deep understanding of one's own value. Those who are truly strong and self-assured don't feel threatened by the success of others. Instead, they celebrate it. They recognize that helping someone else shine doesn't make their own light dimmer. In fact, it strengthens relationships, builds trust, and creates a culture of collaboration rather than competition. Imagine a workplace where colleagues genuinely support each other rather than competing for recognition. In such an environment, people share ideas openly, learn from one another, and work towards collective success rather than individual gain. This kind of atmosphere fosters not only personal growth, but also innovation and progress. Outside of professional settings, this mindset applies to friendships, family dynamics, and even casual social interactions. Encouraging others, acknowledging their efforts, and offering support rather than criticism builds stronger, healthier connections. It also makes us better individuals, more compassionate, more understanding, and more respected by those around us. Ultimately, real strength lies in contribution, not competition. Instead of tearing others down, ask yourself, how can I help this person grow? How can I be a source of encouragement rather than discouragement? A simple act of kindness, a word of encouragement, or a show of support can go a long way, not just in making someone else feel valued, but in reinforcing our own confidence and inner strength. By lifting others up, we don't just help them succeed. We also build a world where success is shared, and everyone feels empowered to reach their full potential. 6. Mastering the art of composure. In our daily interactions, moments of tension are inevitable. Whether it's an unkind remark, a misunderstanding, or a deliberate provocation, how we respond defines our character. Those who are truly wise understand that engaging in unnecessary conflicts rarely leads to anything productive. Instead, it drains energy, damages relationships, and disrupts inner peace. One of the greatest strengths a person can develop is the ability to remain composed in the face of provocation. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or avoiding difficult conversations. It means choosing not to be controlled by impulse. When we react without thinking, we give away our power. But when we approach conflict with patience and understanding, we stay in control of our actions and our peace of mind. Philosophers throughout history, especially the Stoics, emphasize the importance of maintaining inner tranquility. Marcus Aurelius spoke of remaining steady like a rock, unshaken by the chaos around it. A truly strong individual embodies this idea, not by avoiding conflict entirely, but by responding with wisdom rather than aggression. Instead of escalating tension, they seek to understand what's really at the heart of a disagreement. Is the other person acting out of frustration? Are they projecting their own struggles? By stepping back and considering the bigger picture, they avoid unnecessary arguments and instead foster meaningful conversations. This approach not only strengthens relationships, but also cultivates self-discipline. By refusing to be easily provoked, we reinforce our emotional resilience. Over time, we learn that true confidence doesn't come from proving others wrong. It comes from knowing we don't need to. Additionally, those who master composure recognize that conflict is often more about the emotions behind the words than the words themselves. A dismissive comment may stem from insecurity. A harsh critique may come from stress or fear. When we view conflicts through this lens, we stop taking everything personally and instead develop empathy. This shift in mindset allows us to handle difficult situations with grace, turning what could be heated arguments into opportunities for understanding. It's also worth noting that staying composed doesn't mean allowing others to walk over you. Setting boundaries is essential. However, boundaries can be enforced without hostility. A firm but calm response carries far more weight than an emotional outburst. In fact, the ability to remain level-headed often commands more respect than any aggressive display ever could. So, next time you're faced with a situation that threatens your peace, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will engaging in this argument bring me closer to my goals? If the answer is no, then choosing to remain calm is the most powerful response you can give. Thank you for being here. If you found this message valuable, consider liking the video and subscribing for more insights on mastering your mindset. Share this with someone who might need a reminder to stay grounded, and drop a comment below about a time you chose peace over conflict. Stay strong, stay focused, and remember, true power lies in restraint.